Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, classmates. I am Elfemi Grace Arsacis, Math Social Science, and I will discuss to you about unemployment and its demoralizing effects. According to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, it consists of people above a specified age, usually 15, not being in paid employment or self-employment but currently available for work during the reference period. Unemployment can have many sources, such as the following: new technologies and inventions, the status of the economy, which can be influenced by a recession, competition caused by globalization and international trade, policies of the government, and regulation and market. Some of the main types of unemployment include structural unemployment, frictional unemployment, cyclical unemployment, and seasonal unemployment. Structural unemployment is a form of involuntary unemployment caused by a mismatch between the skills that workers in the economy can offer and the skills demanded of workers by employers, also known as a skills gap. Structural unemployment is often brought about by technological changes that make the job skills of many workers obsolete. For example, a company relocates from one place to another will potentially cause unemployment because some employees might not be able to move to the new location. The next one is the frictional unemployment. It is a form of unemployment reflecting the gap between someone voluntarily leaving a job and finding another. As such, it is sometimes called search unemployment, though it also includes gaps in employment when transferring from one job to another. An example would be graduates who are looking for jobs or are still deciding which job to choose from several offers. The third one is cyclical or deficient demand or Keynesian unemployment. Occurs when there is not enough aggregate demand in the economy to provide jobs for everyone who wants to work. Its name is derived from the frequent ups and downs in the business cycle. But unemployment can also be persistent, such as during the Great Depression. With cyclical unemployment, the number of unemployed workers exceeds the number of job vacancies, and so, even if all open jobs were filled, some workers would remain unemployed. And the last one is a seasonal unemployment. It happens in industries with peak and lean seasons. For example, tourism and farming. The highlights of the February 2022 labor force survey in the Philippines is as follows. The country's unemployment rate in February of 2022 remained the same as the 6.4% reported a month ago. This is lower than the unemployment rate of 8.8% in the same month in 2021. In terms of magnitude, this is translated to 3.13 million unemployed individuals, 15 years old and over. This is lower by 1.06 million unemployed Filipinos compared to February 2021. Underemployed persons in February 2022 were accounted at 6.38 million of the total 45.48 million employed individuals. This translates to an underemployed rate of 14.0%. By sex, men had higher labor force participation rate at 75.7% than women at 51.8%. Further, men had higher employment rate at 94.1% than women at 92.8%. Moreover, underemployment rate was higher among men at 15.2% compared to 12.2% among women. Youth labor force participation rate in February of 2022 was estimated at 35.9% out of the 20.15 million youth population who are 15 to 24 years old. Underemployed youth was reported at 838,000 of the 6.20 million youth who were reported employed, while total number of unemployed youth was placed at 1.3 million. Youth employment rate was reported at 85.7%. This is higher than the reported employment rate in February of 2021 at 81.5%, but lower than the recorded employment rate in January of 2022, which is 86.2%. Employed youth in February 2022 worked on an average of 38 hours per week, higher than the average 37.2 hours a week reported in the same month of 2021. In the present employment situation of our country, there are not enough jobs for everyone. Some Filipinos choose to work abroad due to the lack of opportunities of landing a job here in our country. Our youth drop out of school because they need to work to help provide for the family due to poverty. Unemployed individuals are unable to earn money to meet financial obligations. Failure to pay mortgage payments or to pay rent may lead to homelessness through foreclosure or eviction. Unemployment increases susceptibility to the following: cardiovascular disease, somatization, anxiety disorders, depression, and suicide. In addition, unemployed people have higher rates of medication use, poor diet, physician visits, tobacco smoking, alcoholic beverage consumption, drug use, and lower rates of exercise. According to a study published in Social Indicator Research, even those who tend to be optimistic find it difficult to look on the bright side of things when unemployed. Another cause for the unemployed is that the combination of unemployment, lack of financial resources, and social responsibilities may push unemployed workers to take jobs that do not fit their skills or allow them to use their talents. Unemployment can cause underemployment, and fear of job loss can spur psychological anxiety. As well as anxiety, it can cause depression, lack of confidence, and huge amounts of stress, which is increased when the unemployed are faced with health issues, poverty, and lack of relational support, especially from the family. Another personal cost of unemployment is its impact on relationships. A 2008 study from Covici, which examined the relationship between unemployment and divorce, found that the rate of divorce is greater for couples when one partner is unemployed. However, a more recent study has found that some couples often stick together in unhappy or unhealthy marriages when they are unemployed to buffer financial costs. Unemployment can also bring personal costs in relation to gender. One study found that women are more likely to experience unemployment than men, and that they are less likely to move from temporary positions to permanent positions. Another study on gender and unemployment found that men, however, are more likely to experience greater stress, depression, and adverse effects from unemployment, largely stemming from the perceived threat to their role as breadwinner or their expectation to be viewed as manly. A 2014 study by Vandermeer found that the stigma that comes from being unemployed affects personal well-being, especially for men, who often feel as though their masculine identities are threatened by unemployment. Unemployment has been linked to extremely adverse effects on men's mental health. Professor Ian Hickey of the University of Sydney said that evidence showed that men have more restricted social networks than women and that what men have are heavily work-based. Therefore, the loss of a job for men means the loss of a whole set of social connections as well. That loss can then lead to men becoming socially isolated very quickly. Costs of unemployment also vary depending on age. The young and the old are the two largest age groups currently experiencing unemployment. A 2000 study from Jacob and Kleinert found that young people ages 18 to 24 who have fewer resources and limited work experiences are more likely to be unemployed. Other researchers have found that today's high school seniors place a lower value on work than those in the past. which is likely because they recognize the limited availability of jobs. At the other end of the age spectrum, studies have found that older individuals have more barriers than younger workers to employment, require stronger social networks to acquire work, and are also less likely to move from temporary to permanent positions. Additionally, some older people see age discrimination as the reason for them not getting hired. Unemployment effects on communities. High rates of long-term unemployment can devastate local communities, as reduced lifetime income prospects induce a variety of behavioral changes and alter social networks. A lack of available jobs close to where the disadvantaged unemployed workers live, or spatial mismatch, contributes to long durations of joblessness, in part because social networks become largely populated by other jobless workers. As long-term unemployment becomes more concentrated, the neighborhood becomes a source of persistent poverty. Even if long-term unemployment does not have important effects on job finding via social networks, it can induce behavioral changes that have important spillover effects on the community as a whole. In addition to engaging in riskier health behavior and reducing investments in housing and the other capital stocks that benefit the community as a whole, the long-term unemployed may be induced to seek out work in the illegal sector. How unemployment creates poverty can be seen through both direct and indirect effects experienced by many economies around the world. Number one, the loss of income. The obvious, straightforward answer of how unemployment creates poverty is through the loss of income. This can lead to indebtedness from borrowing money to support one's needs, use of savings, or even to homelessness and malnutrition if individuals are unable to find other sources of finance. When individuals are forced to use savings to cover costs today, their future retirement funds are reduced. This creates negative long-term effects on the economy, such as high levels of youth unemployment around the world. The second one is perpetuating the poverty cycle. With current levels of youth unemployment increasing the chances of poverty in the future, the burden to work is more heavily placed on future generations. With unemployment shocks such as this, individuals remain in a poverty cycle. With unemployed adults, children are more likely to drop out of school to enter the workforce. Without completing the necessary education, lower levels of human capital are obtained, which leave these children in unstable working environments in the future. These outcomes will tend to create generational poverty. The third one is increased criminal activity. While the previous examples explain how unemployment creates poverty directly, it also leads to increases in criminal activity. Areas with high levels of unemployment, especially youth unemployment, have been found to have higher levels of crime and vandalism. When individuals are unable to earn incomes legally to supply for their families, they may turn to criminal and violent activity. When individuals turn to violence to escape poverty, their chances of them staying criminals grow. And with the spread of violence and crime, the political instability of a nation grows. With high levels of crime, educational attainment and the access to health care are also negatively affected. And the fourth one is long-term unemployment. Once individuals are unemployed, the risk of falling into long-term unemployment rises. It's been found that the characteristics of living in poor neighborhoods create a poverty trap, as families don't have the necessary tools to become employed. When living in impoverished areas, individuals experience low-quality housing, underfunded schools, and restricted access to public transportation and services. These outcomes reduce an individual's chances of finding employment again. All of these things create a vicious cycle. To ensure that those who are affected by unemployment do not fall into the negative cycle, researchers believe that governments should focus on improving quality education and training all young people so they remain in school. More should be done to provide job protections, which can help decrease the chance of violence and crime in the future. Poverty and unemployment go hand in hand, and this relationship is important to remember when trying to create solutions for the two global issues of unemployment and poverty.
Given all these economic, social, and mental effects of unemployment, there has been no quantitative evaluation of the moral consequences of it. Evidence were presented that becoming unemployed erodes the extent to which a person lets go of the value of earned entitlement and thereby let go of one of the motivations for finding a new job. The extent to which individuals believe that earned entitlement should be acknowledged has potential implications for the way they vote, how willing they are to pay their taxes, and whether and how they engage in the process of production, and how they participate in the society.
That would be all, and thank you so much for listening.